Good afternoon. We would like to welcome you to Moving Math to Digital Spaces Session 1. My name is Kirsten Sarginger, and I'm here with Bernadette Salgarino and Jenny Chang. We are the three mathematics coordinators at the Santa Clara County Office of Education. We are excited that you've joined us and look forward to working with you today. We will be sharing 3 strategies today to help you in supporting the learning of your students in a distance learning environment. The first strategy we'd like to share is the use of existing online resources. The online resources that we're going to share have teaching videos, practice problems, and are aligned with the California Common Core state standards for mathematics. These will be the easiest to start with because they are already developed for you. So, as we think about looking at online resources, what mathematics online resources are you currently implementing with your students? So Bernadette and Jenny, what have you seen out in the field around as far as online resources?
It's a good question. What online math resources? Well, I think a lot of the ed tech companies that are currently providing a lot of their free resources. And so we'll talk about one in just a moment. But I do see a lot of teachers using IXL and Khan Academy, which I think we're going to share at a later webinar as well. So those are the 2 big ones that I see.
Bernadette, what about you? What are you seeing?
Dreambox is also one of the things that I heard that a lot of our math teachers are using. Desmos also has sent all our teachers and their networks about their virtual or distance learning materials, and there's a lot more. And one of a few of those will be shared during the next few slides that we will have today.
Yeah, Jenny, I've seen Dreambox as well. I know like some of the districts that we've been working with, they have a school site and district license. And so the students are just like continuing to work on those. There's another one called Study Island that some districts and school sites have a license to. And so again, they're just kind of continuing what they were already doing. They were spending like 20 to 30 minutes on that 3 days a week in class. And so now they're kind of just moving to do that at home. Also, like the ST math is another one. Like some people call that the GG math because it has that cute little penguin. But that's another one that I've seen, you know, students doing at home for like 20 to 30 minutes, a couple of days a week.
Kirsten, I've heard some. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Abby.
I've heard some teachers, they're trying to leverage some of the purchase curriculum, online elements of their math, well, in other content areas, but I've heard like Go Math is another one that I've heard some teachers talk about. How are they using that at home? And then Pearson and whatever else they're using as a purchase curriculum.
Some of those like state board approved curriculum have like online resources. And so I think are like websites. So I think they're directing students to those websites to get some support. Bernadette, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I think many of the publishing companies right now offered all those online resources for free until the end of the school year. That's what I heard from 3 publishing companies, and so that's nice to have those. Previously, are paid resources, but now they're free for parents, students, teachers who can access those. And that's great to hear.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's really nice when schools and teachers have been using online resources already. And so it's just that, okay, instead of doing it in class or in the computer lab, now you're just doing it at home. So I think that's kind of an easy way to move into distance learning when the students are familiar with the resource. Okay. Anything else around what you're seeing currently being used? All right, Jenny, do you want to talk to us about Zearn?
Sure. So the second strategy that we wanted to share with you is Zearn. And it's geared for K-5. If you're already using Engage New York or Eureka Math curriculum, you're going to be pretty familiar with CERN, as it aligns and it mostly mirrors with the curriculum. It's a really valuable resource regardless of the curriculum you are using. Currently, at the moment, CERN contains over 400 hours of Common Core state aligned, math aligned lessons with on-screen teachers that are all free. You can see the link above where it says online curriculum, or you can even click on the image itself. These lessons help build conceptual understanding and procedural fluency through interactive activities with built-in formative assessments that are tailored and modified in real time to meet students' needs. You can also use the lessons to preview upcoming new material, review current skills and concepts, and it also has some level of extensions for those students that need some level of work. The other thing that CERN is offering at this time is that as early as tomorrow, they'll have upcoming webinars. Once again, you see the link above where it says webinar, that help to support not only educators, but parents, students, and caregivers that are implemented into this program. So really quickly, I just want to take you through, and you can take a look at the site. This is their distance learning page. And then really quickly, these are the webinars that are being offered for administrators, for teachers, and parents. And so right now, their entire curriculum is free. So my question to all of you at this time is, which element of CERN might be something you could use right away in your math block?
Well, I think one of the things with CERN is it has the lessons, has like a teacher actually teaching some of the math lessons. Well, each lesson actually has a teacher teaching. And I think the way Eureka Math and Engage New York teaches mathematics is a little different than some of us when we learned it. And so I think it's really, really great using those teaching lessons for students to watch at home. So they're kind of seeing how Eureka Math is focusing on the math. So that's what I would have my students watch those lessons.
Yeah, thanks, Kirsten. I was going to say, big shift due to COVID-19 and moving everything into a distance learning platform is that our students, if they weren't familiar working online or using programs online, it was a big shift. And thankfully, if you were using Engage New York or you were using Eureka Math, that if you were using CERN and if you weren't using CERN before, the product mirrors the curriculum so well that it's a easy kind of transition into distance learning, online learning. If it's not something that teachers were familiar with or students were familiar with, it makes things easy and quick. And I think one of the things that I've really appreciated using CERN is its ability to really pivot right in the moment. And so if a child is doing a particular activity and makes a series of mistakes, there's pop-up videos that will come up and address those mistakes immediately. And so that's one less thing that me as a math teacher that I have to go and track. And then the reports that come up for the teachers. So CERN has a pretty robust interactive system that helps to catch kind of those use those lessons as formative assessments so that you can adjust your lessons in time, your instruction in time.
Can I ask a question about it?
Yes, we would definitely try to answer it.
Well, so if I am a teacher and I'm not using Eureka Math, would CERN be a good program for me to use?
I think it would. I think it's fairly easy to navigate, and to be perfectly fair, I think it's a little actually easier to navigate than the actual curriculum itself, just because everything is so interactive, and the student dashboard side of it is almost, it looks like almost like a game. So it definitely has kind of like that gamified look to it. On the teacher's end, right, you're assigning certain lessons and you're assigning, they have it in modules and then lessons, right? Their modules are kind of like the units and then the lessons are the lessons itself. And so because Zern mirrors the Engage New York Eureka Math platform so similar, or excuse me, curriculum so similarly, you could just click and choose, like, I want, you know, addition up to 10, or, you know, addition and subtraction up to 10. And so you're just like clicking, and then it automatically assigns the lessons to the student. And it's pretty self-paced. And so as the child is going through all the different activities, as they're doing, as they're going through the activities, it literally has like just-in-time supports. So if you're getting it correctly, the student, if you're getting it correctly, right, they'll say like, good job, let's move on to the next problem. If students are making mistakes along the way, or maybe there's some misunderstanding, the program will recognize that and say, well, let's try one more. This time, think about it this way. And so I think it's pretty, the students tend to find it pretty paced out for them. Kirsten, do you have any thoughts on it?
I would agree. I think it's a program that could definitely be used whether or not, if you're using Eureka Math or not, because the mathematics is really solid and sound, and it does a really great job of implementing the standards for mathematical practice too, because there's a lot of problem solving and conceptual understanding, and the program is not just teaching like the facts or the fluency or the procedures. So I think it's, for any grade level, I think it would really help students build a really strong mathematics foundation. So I would highly recommend it for any using any program.
Thank you. Jenna, does that address the question?
Yes, thank you.
Thanks. All right, I think we're going to go ahead and move on to strategy number 3 with Bernadette.
All right, so for strategy number 3, we would like to share with you 2 additional robust online resources that can be used to engage our kiddos at home. And these 2 are the Khan Academy mathematics courses and Learn Zillion. I know we've said there illustrative mathematics, but Learn Zillion is also good for any curriculum that we're using out there in mathematics. So the first part is the schedule that Khan Academy actually has created. So Jenny, if you could just click on that, that's one example of the Khan Academy schedule that they have for preschoolers, kindergarten, 1st grade and 2nd grade, all the way to high school. What is so interesting is that, you know, we have a lot of parents and teachers who are asking about how they could create a schedule for mathematics. And this is one example that they could use, edit, revise, modify, that fits the needs of the classes that they have if they're using Google Classroom or any platform. The second one is the Khan Academy mathematics courses. And that's the second bullet that we have on this particular slide. And this one is so interesting because you have courses from pre-K all the way to multivariable calculus. So this is pre-K all the way to high school and post-secondary as well. And the website also included lessons from Eureka Math, illustrative mathematics, even the integrated pathway for high school, integrated math 1, math 2, math 3, traditional pathway for high school, which includes algebra 1, algebra 2, geometry, as well as courses for math for fun and glory and more. So that's so nice to have all of those that are available online. The third one, which is the third bullet on our slide, is Learn Zillion. Learn Zillion houses hundreds of 3 to 10-minute videos that are posted online as free resources for students, parents, and the community. The thing here, though, is that for those who would like to access LearnZillion materials, that they may need to create an account to access some videos. And if you're a teacher, access those videos and link them to lessons that you could share through Google Classroom or any platform that you would be using for your distance learning. So at this point, now that we have shared with you some of the strategies to help navigate our distance learning in mathematics, how have you or could you use these resources or some of the resources or a resource with your students, and what additional support is or would be needed?
So Bernadette, for Khan
Yes.
Academy, so if I like, if I'm using this in my classroom and my students are watching a video, and is there like a little quiz or something that they do? Like they watch a video and is there practice problems, or how does that work?
So there are many, so there are different ways that these websites could be used. One is if you will create as an educator to provide some pathways for your kids to learn mathematics, then that account that you will create will then include some videos and some quizzes and mini practice exercises and so on and so forth. If you are not going to use that pathway to provide support for kids and only use some videos, then you can only just link a video from the Khan Academy to support some existing lessons that you have from your curriculum or from your lessons that you're planning. So, yeah.
Can the teacher see if I put all my students on Khan Academy, can I see kind of how they're progressing? Can I track it?
Yes, you can track it. Yeah. So this one is also nice to differentiate where they are in terms of, learning several lessons that they may choose or you may assign for them to go through within a certain period of time.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I have another question. So for LearnZillion, you said you have to set up like a username and password to kind of get in. And then like for parents, would it be something that like a parent could print out like some of the lessons and help their students like teach it, or you know what I mean? Is it an online curriculum or is it just videos?
So there are several things that LearnZillion is offering. One is there's hundreds of 3 to 10 minute videos from elementary all the way to middle school and high school, which can be accessed, especially if you have created your account. The other thing is one that you're saying is some printed materials that they could access, and this is from Illustrative Mathematics, which are the middle school and high school free resources as well. And in that case, yes, they can download some materials, and there are also videos that link with those materials if they needed it to.
Because now that I'm thinking about it, like Eureka Math has the same thing, right? Like it has this online, its curriculum's online. So if you wanted to download lessons that the teachers use, you could do the same thing, right? Because the Illustrative Mathematics has that too.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
Okay.
I love all the resources that you've shared today. It seems that one of the common themes is that there's this like never-ending scope of math that students can engage in no matter where they are and get support from it. I think maybe one piece that I'm wondering how teachers can help students through this is what reflection questions could they ask students so that they're monitoring their own progress, setting new goals for themselves as they're kind of going through this, what seems like pretty self-paced, all these self-paced systems. I didn't mean to derail you. Those are just my two thoughts.
No, Abby, actually, you know what? I have seen several samples of distance learning that are provided to elementary, middle, and I've seen samples of high school as well. Even if they are great lessons, but I think your point is some self-reflection as to how they are seeing their growth within that period of time from, from that day one lesson that they are taking all the way to day n lesson. And there, that was the missing piece. Like they were asking those kids about journaling and things like that, but never reflect back as to how much growth they have or how much learning they have done or they have accomplished within the span of time that they're doing distance learning. So,
Or even any connective tissues that they're seeing across the topics in math. So like no one can replace the teacher, right? Even all these great videos will help with some understanding of the content, but it's the teacher that brings out all of the connections across math and then across math to other content areas. And so we don't want to lose that piece of it either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also important to really think about like the learning goal, right? Like what's my learning goal for this unit or for these lessons, or because whether I'm using Khan Academy or Learnzillia, whatever I'm using, like at the end of the day, it's like my objective is this, we want students to understand X, Y, or Z. And so I think that's an important part too, that you would think about universal design for learning, and there's no one way that we all learn best. And so, options are an important point, but as long as we all are familiar with the learning goal and then having some way of assessing whether or not, we have a deep understanding of that learning goal. I think that's an important part of it. And like Bernadette said, like the reflection piece, like we're assessing ourselves, our students, on what their understanding is. Okay, so we, at the Santa Clara County Office of Education, the math team worked together to put together a list of different distance learning resources that we vetted and we would recommend being used in classrooms. And so you'll notice on the left-hand side of the column, it has the name and there's a picture underneath, kind of the symbol or what that is. Then we have our audience. So most of the resources are for K-12. There's some just for elementary, some middle for high school, but some for all. And then we also have some for TOSAs and then admins as well. And then the far right side, we have a summary of that resource. And so as you'll see, as Jenny's just kind of scrolling down the page, there's lots of different resources that we have. You'll also see some, it says for parents. And so I know for some school sites and districts, they're really wanting to give parent support as well. And so some of these are really great for parents too, as a place to go to learn different strategies or have different resources that they can use to work with their own children. And there's some of these that are probably familiar to a lot of you. For example, like Inside Mathematics, a lot of you have probably gone to that site and used Mars tasks or problem of the month. Or middle or high school, there's a math assessment project, which have really amazing formative assessment lessons that some of your students have used. But Math Playground might be one that's new for some of you, or Math for Love, which is like another one that might be something that you haven't seen before. So again, we know you're just being bombarded with resources, and different companies are sharing things with you all the time. You go on Twitter, you go on Facebook. And so we just thought we're really trying to create like a one-stop shop for you that has a list of resources, again, that we have vetted and that we stand behind as something that has good, strong mathematics and a good resource for your students. So that's one of the resources we wanted to share. And then our next webinar is tomorrow at the same time at 3:30. And it's called Moving Math to Digital Spaces Part 2. And during this one, we're really going to be focusing on looking more at schedules and different schedules that for students, and then also kind of how different districts have kind of put together their schedules for their teachers and their students. We're also going to look at what other districts have done and kind of what their, what resources that they're using, kind of the structure of lesson design that they're using. And we're going to be sharing some different ways to launch lessons and also some lesson design. Kind of if you're planning a week of instruction, like what would that week look like for your students? I know some of you are doing that now. You're starting to build like a week out. And so how do you do that? What does your lesson start with, your launch? What are you doing in the middle? How are you teaching students the new content? What resources are you using to have them practice? And assessment too, like what are you using, to assessment? So there's a lot of different things that go into lesson design, especially in a distance learning environment. I want to be talking about that tomorrow. So with that being said, are there any other questions that anyone has before we end this webinar? Okay. So then on behalf of Bernadette and Jenny, I'd like to thank you all for attending our webinar. And if you have any questions or need any kind of support, Bernadette, Jenny, and my email address is on the slide. And definitely feel free to reach out to us at any time. We're more than happy to provide any assistance that you need. Jenny or Bernadette, would you like to say anything before we close?
No, just thank you very much for joining us today, and we hope to hear from you soon if you have any questions or comments.
Same here. Thank you so much.